Hey everyone, welcome. We are starting a new unit, and just so you know, we are going to be doing things a little bit different each lesson. Hopefully from here on out, you'll hear from one of your social studies teachers to begin. So today I'm kicking it off, and we are starting World War II. But before we do that, we have to go back to World War I and really think about how it left Germany. If you remember, Germany went from being one of the strongest countries in the whole entire world. They were absolutely dominating World War I. And France was holding on by a thread. Great Britain had almost thrown in the towel, and we show up and kind of turn the tide of that war. If you remember, Wilson was our president at the time, and when the war was over, he just wanted peace so bad. But France and Great Britain did not want peace. The Big Four did not want peace. Wilson was the only one. They all wanted to punish Germany for all that they had done. And rightfully so. If you think about it, if you lived over there, if Germany had destroyed your whole country and starved your people, you might want revenge too. So the Treaty of Versailles that ended World War I really kind of gave Germany what we like to call the raw deal. And if you look, R stands for reparations, which is money we required Germany to pay because the war was their fault. And this money was $33 billion. Now, the reality is they just lost a war, so they had no money. But somehow we're requiring them to pay that. A is Allied punishment. So these are things like we took away land from them. So not only do we say, you lose, the war is all your fault, you need to pay us this money, we actually took away land, so we made them smaller. And we all know the bigger your country, lots of times the more powerful that you are because you have more stuff. And also, the big thing, if you look there with W, is war guilt. After the war was over, we pretty much said that you have to say, you have to take responsibility for it. This is your fault. You did this. You are to blame. So I like to think of this as a good example. Imagine you are the number one athlete in the whole entire country, maybe even the whole entire world. And then all of a sudden you are no longer that athlete. Maybe you got an injury. I don't know. And now you're at the bottom. Lots of times, I know if it was me, I would not want to be at the bottom. And I would be digging my way out, doing whatever I needed to do. Maybe it's rehabbing my knee if it was an injury, or working hard to get better and better. And you better believe Germany is going to do something similar. They are going to not want to be at the bottom. And so they're going to be trying to dig their way out of the hole, which is this Treaty of Versailles is really going to set the stage for World War II. Because unfortunately, Germany is going to want to get back to the top, especially since we made them, pretty much take full responsibility for the war and kind of put them in a tough spot. So we are starting World War II, and our big question that we're thinking about this unit is the collective good or individual rights more important? So today, we're going to be thinking about our big question, which is this. We're just doing an intro today, just really want to dive into this question. And thinking about the collective good versus individual rights, it's really a we versus I mentality. Individual rights are things like, you have freedom of speech here in America. You have freedom of religion. You can do things you want to do. One of them is actually the right to assemble, which is to meet in groups. However, sometimes we do see our individual rights taken away and a requirement to do what is good for everyone. And I think right now is kind of a perfect example of that. I'm sure a lot of you would, I don't know if you want to be at school, but I'm sure you'd like to be hanging out with your friends or at the park or doing those things. And those are things we can't do right now. So when you think about you really can't be doing things today for you. Our government is really asking us, and the world is asking us to do things that are good for everyone, which means social distancing, right? So we are now currently doing things for the collective good because there's a chance that, if you're around other people, you could be spreading that virus. However, that does infringe on your individual rights. So this idea of collective good or individual rights, the we versus I, is a debate that is always going on, something that we always are kind of thinking about. At a time of war, we do kind of see individual rights sometimes can be taken away. During World War I, if you remember, we needed more soldiers, so we started a draft. And that didn't mean it was a choice for some people to go to war. They had to go to war. So that was more, we're going to do what's good for the whole country versus we're going to do what's good for the individual. With that said, individual rights is an important thing. And so it's a big debate, something we're going to continue to think about. So today, you are going to read through this idea of individual rights and collective good. It just kind of gives you a little intro of what we just said right here. Another example of individual, and just so you know, my little baby will be crashing these videos with her yelling and talking to you. Nothing quite makes sense yet, but we try. So let's go back here. So individual rights is really like life, liberty, pursuit of happiness, freedom to do different things. Where community responsibilities could be something like recycling or right now staying in your home and social distancing. And so if you look right here, that we got this cartoon, it says security versus privacy. That's kind of another sometimes what happens with individual rights versus collective good, right? Collective good or the security of the nation lots of times comes before the individual rights of the person. So there's no right or wrong answer to this, and lots of people think different things. Some people are all about like the we, some people are all about the I, and some people are all about, sometimes we need a mix of both. So there's some key questions we're going to look at right here today. We're going to ask you to answer these questions on here. How would you define individual rights? How would you define the collective good? What do you think is more important? So if you remember, anytime we have a what do you think question, there is no right or wrong answer. It's what do you think? And then there's a little quote here below. We're just going to have you read it and then answer, do you agree or disagree? And then on the bottom, how does individual rights versus collective good apply to our current situation with COVID-19? And then if you look, we said, please share your response to this question in our class discussion after you write it. So please make sure after you've written it on this document that you go back and do that. Kind of a big question, definitely something we're going to keep thinking about this whole unit. So please take your time and do a great job today. We miss all of you and we hope everything is good.